Welcome to the Mark Divine Show. This podcast is about more than just listening. It's about sparking action and inspiration while transforming yourself, your community, and the world at large. Each episode is designed to help you grow as a leader, break through personal barriers, and make lasting impact. Together, you and your host will explore topics like mental toughness, emotional resilience, purpose, and evolving consciousness, while embracing challenges and facing this fast-changing world. Our guests on the Mark Divine Show are exceptional individuals who offer wisdom from diverse fields, whether it's science, philosophy, leadership, human performance, or psychedelic research. Join us today as we dare to think bigger, live bolder, and unlock the common potential within everyone. Here's your host, Mark Divine.
Welcome to the Mark Divine Show. I'm your host, Mark Divine. Thanks for joining me on our exploration of everything to do with development, whole person development, integrated development, trying to tap your fullest potential as a human being and bring it to the world in service in your unique way. So today I'm going to continue the exploration with a solo teaching of the 5 mountains. And if you paid attention to any of my previous recordings the last few times, we've done an introduction of the integrated development, something I've been doing at the company Unbeatable Mind for a number of years. And that is along the path of what we call the 5 mountain path. And the 5 mountains are physical, mental, emotional, intuitional, and spiritual development. So we did a deep dive on the physical mountain recently, talked about how that is critically important as a foundation for all of the work you do developmentally, because wherever you go, there your body is. You don't leave it behind. So many people, when they do emotional or spiritual work, they just completely ignore their body. And ultimately, that leads to problems because they become literally disembodied and, become essentially walking brains, but with no connection to really their feeling states, no awareness of the shadow and the patterns that have really drive their behavior. And also shutting themselves off from what we call whole mind, which is the experience of using your body as your mind, or your mind being infused throughout your body, because they are not separate. They're actually same. So we want to start with the physical to really get super healthy and learn how to move with awareness and grace, to be able to tap into the sensations and the feelings of your body, as well as your heart mind and your gut mind. And also to kind of purify and detoxify the body, as well as to clarify the mind and to slow down the thinking processes. All of that accrues just through physical training and physical health. So that was really the foundation, physical. Now, today I want to move on to mental mountain, right? So what do I mean by the mental mountain? Start with a little story here, right? Growing up in upstate New York, traditional education, public high school, college, cranked out a whopping 2.8 GPA at Colgate University. The training was all horizontal or linear, meaning it was just packing information in, trying to remember it, and trying to regurgitate it on a test. That's pretty common. Like most of us have had that experience for education. And it was called education. It wasn't called mental development, right? So I'd never heard of mental development. And so what I thought I knew was a bunch of stuff. We call that knowledge. And I thought that knowledge was going to make me better or somehow different, but it really didn't. It just simply gave me some practical tools to use in the corporate structures that the educational system was designed to prop up and support. And so mine happened to be white collar work as a certified public accountant in the finance industry in New York. So there I went blithely into that career thinking, okay, I've got all this skills and all this knowledge and everything's going to be great now. And so when I started meditating, some of you heard that story, I found a grandmaster martial artist who was also a Zen teacher. And I started training with him. And I started to sit down and to just practice this thing he called Zen. And it turns out that was an introduction to the mental mountain work. There was mental training, mental development that was radically different than trying to pack new knowledge into my brain and to train my brain to access that knowledge through memory and to then formulate it in sentences and put it back out there as like, hey, I know this thing and I'm smart. I can reconstruct these mental models and project them into the world through my work and relationships and whatever. And so what I began to see when sitting on that little meditation bench was that everything that I had done was all basically external ideation and creating these mental structures based on language that were stored in memory banks that then got projected back out in the world to create my perception of reality. But it had nothing to do with who I actually was. And so sitting on the meditation bench was the first opportunity I had, or chance I had, to really examine what my mind was and how I thought, what I thought, and then also to slowly and almost imperceptibly at first, but then in an accelerated manner, change how my mind worked. So I want to talk a little bit about all of that. This podcast is sponsored by Marley Spoon. I'm genuinely excited about Marley Spoon because they're helping me fast track my way to eating well without all the stress and complexity. You know, as a former SEAL, I've always been big on discipline and routine. But when it comes to meal planning and prep, I struggle. That's why I'm stoked about Marley Spoon. It's a meal delivery service that's been a game changer for me. What I love about them is that they give you over 100 recipes to choose from every week. Everything from hearty comfort food to lighter, healthier options. My recent favorite is their grilled chicken with avocado salsa. It's like a burst of flavor that fuels my training. And get this, they just launched new 15-minute express recipes. Perfect for those days when you're running from one mission to the next. Plus, they feature Martha Stewart's recipes every week. These dishes taste like they're straight out of a 5-star restaurant. I love Marley Spoon's commitment to quality. I'm always preaching about the importance of fueling your body right, and I appreciate that Marley Spoon has a registered dietitian reviewing every recipe. It's like having a nutrition expert and a chef in your kitchen. So this year, fast track your way to eating really well with Marley Spoon. Head over to their website, marleyspoon.com, marleyspoon.com/offer/divine. Use the code DIVINE, D-I-V-I-N-E, for up to 27 free meals. That's right, up to 27 free meals with Marley Spoon. That's an incredible offer. marleyspoon.com/offer, OFFER, /divine, D-I-V-N-E. Use that with the code DIVINE to get up to 27 free meals. One last time, go to marleyspoon.com/offer/divine for up to 27 free meals. Make sure you use that code DIVINE at checkout so they know that I sent you. Thanks, Marley Spoon, for sponsoring the Mark Divine Show. Winners don't make resolutions. Resolutions break. Instead, winners just start and then maximize on their momentum. And when their goal is health span, being able to live better for longer, there's a few non-negotiables. And one of them is quality. When it comes to supplements geared toward high performers, no one does quality like Momentous does. They invest in NSF certification, meaning each batch is tested for heavy metals, harmful additives, and label claim accuracy. And it's the reason they're trusted by all 32 NFL teams and collegiate sports team dietitians all over the country. Trusting research and their ecosystem of experts over fads means not offering every supplement on the market. Other brands can do that. Momentous believes in nailing the basics with bone-crushing consistency, then curating an intentional routine based on your individual goals. And by basics, I mean protein and creatine. Fundamental basics for your supplement routine. Momentous sources CreaPure, the purest form of creatine monohydrate available, and it's an absolute must for both men and women for peak physical and cognitive performance. If you want to learn more, go to livemomentous.com, LIVEMOMENTOUS.com. Try it today, 20% off using the code DIVINE, D-I-V-I-N-E. Start living on purpose now. Get your supplements at livemomentous.com. Check out their creatine and their protein, the basic must-haves. 20% off. Use the code DIVINE at livemomentous.com. Mind you, this is not easy work. There's something that we call the monkey mind. And the monkey mind is the nature of the mind to just jump all over the place, right? If you take the time to actually sit and reflect, or sit and just be with your thoughts, you notice that they just are like nonstop, and they seem to arise from nowhere. And then you can energize some thoughts, and you can spin out of control with certain thoughts and emotions, or you can, think yourself into a calm state. But most of these thoughts are just patterns. They say that we have like 60,000 of these every day, and 80% of them are the same patterns and thoughts that we had yesterday and the day before. And then we just keep on repeating the same things over and over and over. And that leads us into that trap of doing the same thing and expecting or hoping for different results, because we're just dragging our past into the present moment every day, which is ensuring that our future looks exactly like our past. So that is the untrained mind. The untrained mind is a mind that has been packed full of information that someone else tells you is important, packed full of belief systems and mental models and ideas and biases through your experiences, through your education, and through your family, through the different institutions and media of your culture of origin. And then you just regurgitate that, and most people for their entire lives. And unfortunately, that leads to pretty suboptimal results, because a lot of that conditioning and programming is negative, fear-based, and layered with all sorts of childhood trauma-induced patterns that protected the child but are not very effective or useful as an adult, especially in relationship with others. So when you ask, why do mental training, Mark? The answer I would give you is because if you don't, then you're not free. You're not free of the conditioning and the patterns and those constructs and those, the entire edifice of how you have been trained by the exterior world to believe in reality. So you're not free. And the idea that you have free will is a fantasy right there. So ultimately, if you're driven toward the notion of freedom, which most of us are, and that's what we call waking up to a growth mindset as opposed to a fixed mindset, is that you have this internal, like primal urge to expand. And what is that expansiveness? It's freedom. It's freedom from contraction. It's freedom from limitation. It's freedom from whatever's holding you back. And ideally, you would see that what's holding you back is the mental conditioning and training that you received throughout your life up until that moment that you seek freedom. So freedom can only come then by investigating the nature of the mind, and we call that meditation, right? Meditation, everyone has a different view of what that word means, but it's simply paying attention to how the mind works. It's the process of paying attention. Meditation is also, could be talked about in the sense of the process of turning away from the bias toward action and toward the bias toward inaction. Said another way, it is the process of moving away from just a doing person to a being person. In other words, to be more okay with being quiet and to being silent, to being able to sit in silence, and to be able to watch your thoughts, examine your thoughts, curate your thoughts, and then even move beyond your thoughts into what we call the witness, and to experience the more ephemeral nature of your natural state, in which case you're already free in that natural state, and you're already in a state of happiness and peace. But you've got to work your way there through the outer layers of the mind. At least us in the Western community who have been so hyper-trained with that left mind, linear thinking, packed full of concepts and knowledge that gets stored and then compartmentalized and then regurgitated. All that needs to be softened, and in the process, your ego starts to move beyond just identifying with the concepts and the beliefs that you normally would think of as you, to a much more expansive sense of self. So your self-awareness begins to expand, and it begins to connect with Source and with all that is. And so you develop this kind of sense of a both and, that you are a spiritual being having this human existence, and that those structures and those ego identity things are not unhelpful. They are helpful, but they need to be purified, clarified, and directed in the right manner. So you tame the ego, you take control of it, you put it in its proper place, and you lead from what we might call your higher self. This is all what happens. Those are the outcomes, let's say, of mental mountain training or mental mountain development. But like I said, it's not easy. So when I started on the Zen bench with Mr. Nakamura, this is 1985, I literally called it concentration camp because it felt like, right, I was a prisoner in my own mind. When you sit down, at least my experience, when I sat down and tried to concentrate, I noticed my mind was just all over the place. That monkey mind or popcorn mind was constantly thinking and churning. So it took a little bit of faith. And I had a lot of trust in the teacher. So that's one way to have that's one way to have faith and to stick with it. Because meditation requires, just like any physical training, requires that you just do it. And not do it once in a while, but you do it every single day. It also requires a few prerequisites. And one of them is that you are physically healthy and strong. Now, when I started training, I was extremely fit. I was an elite athlete. So I had all that box checked. But a lot of my clients come to me and they're not extremely fit and they're not, well, I wouldn't have to say, you don't have to say extremely fit, but fit and healthy. And if you try to meditate and you're unhealthy, like I said at the introduction to this podcast, you won't succeed because your body is going to be too hyper-aroused. It's going to be full of stress and anxiety. And if your body is full of that, then your brain, of course, which is part of your body, is going to be hyper-aroused and anxious. And so you're going to have a very difficult time concentrating and sitting comfortably, right, in the posture of meditation. So I noticed that was a prerequisite. So that's one of the things that I kind of, okay, check. If I hadn't had that healthy body and brain, then the work would have been much more challenging for me. Also, because Nakamura was a traditional Zen teacher, they used the breath to concentrate the mind, to hold the attention steady. And so in those early days, I learned how important it was to control the breathing and to slow it down, and that began to stabilize the mind. So that's the second prerequisite, is we use the breath to stabilize the mind and to calm the body down in a process we call arousal control. So when you want to start mental training and you think, well, I've got to sit down and meditate, what you're really going to do is you're going to sit down and you're going to close your mouth and you're going to start breathing deeply through your nostrils, and you're going to slow that down to a count of 5. And you can even add the holds. And yes, I'm describing box breathing. So you're going to do 5 count inhale, 5 count hold, 5 count exhale, 5 count hold, or 4 count if that's a little too much for you. So what this is going to do now, it's going to draw your attention inward. It's going to calm your body down by activating that parasympathetic nervous system, massaging the vagus nerve. And because you're concentrating on the box pattern and you're holding your attention on that box pattern, then you're stabilizing your mind and calming it down and really preparing it to do some other work with your mind. So this prerequisite right here, which we'll call arousal control and attention control, leading to greater powers of concentration, and most people should do this for an extended period of time and not worry about anything else. This is meditation, right? But you're getting some significant benefits from this: arousal control, attention control, concentration. And you may work on this for a year or more. Are you ready to embrace the impossible with your four-wheel travel adventures? If so, I'd like to introduce you to the Defender, which is an icon of adventure reimagined for a new generation of explorers. With unstoppable capability, this Land Rover vehicle is engineered to meet challenges head-on, on and off the road. The Defender family, which includes the 90, the 110, and 130 models, exude confidence and are fully equipped for 21st century adventures. Imagine conquering rough terrain with ease thanks to 3D surround cameras and clear sight ground view, letting you anticipate obstacles before they become a problem. And their next generation Pivi Pro infotainment system and intuitive driver displays are customizable to your journey, helping you make more of your adventure. So whether you've got grand ambitions or you're exploring uncharted territory, the Defender's legendary capability and modern design make it the perfect companion, especially for those of you who refuse to stay put where you're at. It's more than just a vehicle. It's a statement of exploration and durability. So if you're ready to start your next adventure and you want a four-wheel friend, that's up for the task, then you've got to explore the full Defender lineup. Go to LandRoverUSA.com. Again, LandRoverusa.com. Check it out there and design your own icon of adventure today.
Are you ready to revolutionize your hiring process? Don't search for employees. Match with Indeed. Indeed's driven by the search for better. And when it comes to hiring, Indeed is your ultimate solution. Why Indeed? Well, Indeed's the premier matching and hiring platform, boasting over 350 million global monthly visitors. Their advanced matching engine helps you find top quality candidates fast, eliminating the need for tedious searching. Streamline your hiring process with Indeed. Say goodbye to busy work. Indeed offers seamless scheduling, screening, and messaging features, allowing you to connect with candidates faster than ever before. An impressive 93% of employers agree that Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites. You've got over 140 million qualifications and preferences analyzed daily, with a matching engine that continuously learns and improves, tailoring results to your specific needs. So join the ranks of more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that trust Indeed to hire greater talent quickly. In fact, during this short ad, approximately 23 hires were made on Indeed globally. There's an exciting opportunity for you. Get a $75 sponsored job credit to boost your job visibility. Simply visit Indeed.com/divine to claim this special offer and support the Mark Divine Show. Remember, when it comes to hiring, don't search. Match instead with Indeed. Visit Indeed.com, INDEED.com/divine, DIVINE, right now. Terms and conditions do apply. You need to hire? Then you need Indeed.
When I did this, that was all I did for several years. And our objective was to count to 10. So inhale, without the box breathing, just the inhale 5 count, exhale 5 count. You try to count to 10 without thinking of anything else, just holding your attention on that. And I got to tell you, it was very, very difficult. I remember the first time I did it, I think I got to 2 and realized I was thinking the whole time. So back to 0, started over, and got to 2 again. And it took me literally 6 months to where I could count to 5. And honestly say that I wasn't thinking about anything. I was holding my attention on that count. The benefits to that, like I said, are enormous. Your ability to hold your attention, to become less distractible, to be able to concentrate more, and to really focus on things with much more intense mental energy, really greatly are greatly improved. But it's not really the end-all, be-all of meditation, right? So mental training then will bear fruit when you have that concentrated mind and you begin to turn that concentration inward, right? And you're looking for a state of expansive awareness that is beyond the thinking, meaning you can observe and you're aware of thinking happening, but your center of awareness is not the thoughts itself, meaning you're not merged with your thoughts anymore. This will happen quite naturally when you do the concentration practice over time, because what happens, that concentration, you're thinking of just one thing. And while you're doing that, while you're holding your attention on that one thing, you get really good at noticing when other thoughts start to come up. And what you also begin to notice is that the noticer is different than the thinker, right? So we'll call that the witness. So as your witness opens up, you develop a greater sense of I-ness that is not connected to thinkingness. Now, this is a real sea change for most people. It's like their first awakening to, hey, I'm not my thoughts. And if I'm not my thoughts, then who am I? And that is one of the most profound questions you can ask in mental development and mental training. So we'll call this mindfulness, right? And mindfulness is certainly something that is not unique to my training. It's been part of the American culture for some time now. But the challenge people have with mindfulness is it's somewhat of an advanced practice. And if you haven't practiced the arousal control, attention control, and concentration, then mindfulness doesn't come very easily, especially if your body is kind of agitated and you're anxious. So the way I like to look at this is, crawl, walk, run. Just like if you go into a gym, and I used to train a lot of CrossFit athletes, and if you've never had any experience with some of the advanced movements, then you don't just start doing them at full load, or what they call RX. You've got to work your way slowly, learning the fundamentals and functional movement patterns, and you might not do some of these more advanced movements for a couple of years. Similar with meditation, right? Mindfulness is an advanced skill, and so you've got to lay the foundations of the physical mountain, and then concentration, arousal control, and attention control. What we're talking about with mental mountain is this foundational work to transform not what you think, but how your mind works. And you develop the capacity to use your whole mind, which is, both left and right hemisphere being online simultaneously. We call that simultaneous mind, where you're aware that you are aware, and you are aware that you're thinking, while simultaneously being able to be engaged in the thinking and communicating process, right? So that's a powerful skill, both contextual awareness and content awareness online simultaneously. That is something that will accrue through this practice. Also, you begin to connect to your heart and your gut. So different seats of intuition. We'll talk about that more when we get to the intuitive mountain. But that whole mind experience of embodied mind begins to open up to you, and you have a lot more access to information and sources of intelligence that you didn't have before. So you're expanding your mental capacity. The last thing I want to say is all of this then sets the stage for a couple different and very unique and powerful mental skills to be further developed. And one of them is what we call direct perception, the ability to receive information transrationally, right? And so these are things that you might have thought about in the past and thought, well, that doesn't make sense, or that's not real, like extrasensory perception, right? Or receiving information from outside the body or whatever. Well, let me tell you, this is all very, very real, right? There is no separation between body and minds. It's all a perception. And so as you train your mind, you're able to receive information, right? That is not generated within your mind. So that is a very powerful skill, one that, in many ways has saved my life countless times when I was in the SEALs. And the other skill, and I'll do a separate discussion about this, is the ability to see within. We call that insight. So you have the capacity to begin to see things, right? To have internal vision, we'll call that envisioning, and also to really enhance your visual capacity through visualization and imagination, which makes you much more creative, and you can begin to use that skill of envisioning and imagination and visualization to help you heal from past wounds, as well as to create a powerful vision for your future. And we'll talk about that a little bit in a moment in the next podcast. All right, so that's that. Thanks so much for joining me. That is the Mental Mountain. We'll have much more to say on this stuff in the future as we neck it down and get more granular. And, well, there you have it. Thanks for joining me today. Hoo-yah, Divine out.
Thank you for joining us on the Mark Divine Show. We hope this podcast has enriched your life as well as encouraged you to think from new perspectives and make actionable change. You can find all the resources from this episode on the website markdivine.com, along with the video version on the YouTube channel. Just search Mark Divine. You can also connect with Mark Divine directly on Twitter X, Instagram, Facebook, or you can also reach out if you want to share ideas, bring up topics you'd like to hear Mark discuss, or any guest suggestions via his LinkedIn page, Mark Divine. A big thanks to our amazing team at Jet Studios, bringing this podcast to you every week. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the Divine Inspiration newsletter. You can go to markdivine.com and subscribe there. check out Mark's new performance-focused supplements at sealfitsupplements.com. If you are a new or regular listener to the Mark Divine Show, we would be so grateful if you could rate and review the show. It helps with visibility, and it also gets us out there to more people that are wanting to be positive change agents in this world. Remember, you have the power to create change you want to see. So let's all strive for a better world as trailblazers and warriors of positive change. Stay inspired, stay curious, and be uncommon. Thank you.